Board meeting for January 20th, 2015. I call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Aaron's? Here. Camerer?
Here.
Carbonaro?
Here.
Martin? Absent. Ranky?
Here.
Shipman?
Here.
President Wallace?
Here. I've requested that Pastor Doyle from Christ Community Church present our invocation for us this evening.
Let's bow our heads as I pray. Father God, thank you for each person here who is here on a cold Tuesday night, Lord, ready to just do good for the village of Bartlett, Lord. I pray your blessing upon this meeting today, Heavenly Father. I pray your blessing upon the village of Bartlett and the people of Bartlett, Lord. That this would be a community known where people can prosper, Lord, economically, socially, and spiritually, Heavenly Father. So I ask your blessing for today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Doyle. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I passed it. Couldn't be hanging out the door.
There's a reason for that, Brian.
Yeah, I know. These attorneys can never pass a bar.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Moving right along, next on our agenda, in our meeting here is the consent agenda. All items listed in an asterisk are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the board members so request. If they request, the item will be removed from the consent or added to the consent. Does anybody would like to add or remove anything from the consent agenda at this time? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, which this evening only includes the bills list.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Camerer, seconded by Trustee Carbonaro. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Aaron's?
Yes.
Camerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, the board and committee minutes for the January 6, 2015 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Shipman, seconded by Trustee Ranky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Aaron's?
Yes.
Camerer?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on our agenda is the Treasurer's report. I see there's none this evening. Moving right along, we'll go into President's report, Government Finance Officers Association Budget Award presentation. Just to let you know, the Village of Bartlett has been awarded the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award for its May 1st, 2013 and April 30th, 2014 annual operating budget. The presentation of the award will be done by Mr. Stan Helgerson, I think is here. GFOA member. Mr. Helgerson formerly served as a finance director for the Village of Carroll Stream until his recent retirement. Mr. Helgerson has also been president of the Illinois Government Finance Officers Association and was a board member of the National GFOA. Stan currently serves on various police and fire pension boards throughout the northwest suburbs. Stan?
Thank you. I know you got a cold.
Keep your distance.
All right. They brought me here to read a story tonight.
Okay.
So, President and Board of Trustees, on behalf of the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada, I am honored to have been invited here today to present to the Village of Bartlett GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. This award represents a significant achievement by your organization. It indicates that your document has been reviewed and rated favorably by an expert panel of independent budgeting professionals. In order to receive the award, the village had to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. These guidelines were designed to assess how well the budget document fulfills four major purposes. First, the budget document should serve as a policy tool. At a minimum, the document should list the organization's programmatic and fiscal goals for the upcoming year. Second, the budget should present a clear financial plan. It should list all expenditures and revenue sources for the prior year and the current year and project the organization's financial condition through the end of the proposed fiscal year. Third, the budget should be a guide for the organization's operations. It should explain the relationship between organizational components and measure the efficiency and effectiveness of each individual component. Finally, the budget should serve as a communication medium, providing summary information about the organization's programs, services, and finances in a manner suitable for use by the media and general public. I will say it does do that. I did go out and review the budget. I got comments for Jeff. A budget document is reviewed using a comprehensive evaluation checklist containing 26 criteria in each of the 4 categories. 13 of these criteria are mandatory items outlining the basic elements that any good budget document should contain. One important goal of the program is to encourage improvement in an organization's overall budgeting procedure. It is hoped that by improving the process underlying the budget's development, the organization's budgeting procedures will be improved. Another important goal is to continuously improve the quality of the budget document itself. The detailed list of comments and suggestions that accompany this award should be an aid to help with this improvement. Since the inception of the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Awards program in 1984, only approximately 1,400 entries out of more than 5,000 GFOA member units in the United States and Canada have received this award. I'll also say that I know that the village receives the CAMERER award also, which is even a smaller group out of that 5,000 to attain both awards. The GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Awards program is the only national awards program in governmental budgeting. Award recipients have pioneered efforts to improve the quality of budgeting and to provide an excellent example for other entities throughout North America to follow. On behalf of the Government Finance Officers Association, I applaud your efforts and ask that you continue your commitment to excellence in government budgeting. I now would like to present the award to Jeff Martineau, Finance Director.
All right. Sorry. Put it on our Facebook, if you don't mind, Mr. Halverson. We'll get a quick picture. Scott can do it. No, it's okay. Thank you, Mr. Helgerson, for coming out and presenting for us. And well done, Jeff.
Thank you.
I'm sure Jeff would be the first to add that it's a huge team effort on that budget, and we get the thrill of pouring through it every year, so that's good.
Start this.
Moving right along, the next thing on our agenda this evening is the question and answer session. At this point, is there any board member that may have a question for staff?
Reiterate the congratulations to Finance.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done.
It says a lot to our residents.
Is that an annual award? Okay. Okay. Good. That's good to know. Next, we have the town hall portion of our meeting. At this point, if anybody would like to address the board, feel free to step up to the podium, state your name, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or under. Anybody like to address the board at this time?
Good evening, board. I just wanted to bring to notice about a missing or confusing ordinance regarding noise and snow blowers.
Paul, you got to Could you say your name and your
I'm sorry,
address?
Paul Ryan.
Your address?
Address 847 Forest Glen. I'm in Regency Oaks. I got the police called on me.
Okay.
And police were very nice. The neighbor filed a complaint saying that my snowblower was causing a ruckus at 6:20 in the morning. Actually, it was about 5:45 in the morning. But I stopped the snowblower, looked up the ordinance, and it really doesn't address snow blowers. It does address lawn equipment. But I'm doing my driveway, not my lawn. But the only thing I would like to have is a clarification or a consideration of a clarification for snow blowers because it snows 24 hours. That's about it.
So you're looking for like what time you can start type?
Well, if a snowplow can go up and down the street, and rightfully so, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm not one to snow blow at 3 in the morning, but it was actually because the corner I have a school bus stop, high school bus gets there at 6:20. I wanted to get it out of the way, but I wasn't able to do it for that one snow. Not a big deal, just bringing it up.
Well, thanks for bringing it up. I know it's been a concern with other folks too, so thank you.
Thanks.
We look into it, and yeah, I think that I'd be interested in finding out what other villages may do for that. I think our garden stuff, like lawn stuff, is at 7 a.m. on weekdays? It is. Yeah.
8 on Saturdays.
Except we've always allowed rescue first responders to snow blow at any time. 'Cause I remember I had a fireman living next to us on Hickory. He was out there at all hours, and really, you know.
Okay.
And I know from experience when you snowplow, there were a couple heavy snows. If you didn't hit it like every 3 hours, you can't move it by the 7 a.m.
Right.
So.
First have you come over to my house, right? Yeah. Would you like to let the record state that Greg Martin is now present at the meeting? Moving right along. Standing committee reports. Next item is standing committee reports. First standing committee report we have is under Planning and Zoning Committee, Chairman CAMERER.
Thank you, President Wallace. There's one item on the Planning and Zoning Committee this evening, and that is subdivision ordinance amendments and updated appendices. We have a memo from our village attorney, Brian Mraz, regarding the proposed amendments to the Bartlett subdivision and PUD ordinance, and requesting approval of new appendices to the subdivision ordinance to, as he states in his memo, better secure developers' obligations to construct and pay for public improvements for subdivisions in Bartlett. According to Mr. Mraz, the forms have not been updated in over 10 years, and some of the laws dealing with surety bonds, letters of credit, and cash bonds, which are used to secure developers' obligations, have changed. Also, a few of the changes proposed are housekeeping, such as new construction details for curbs and for the streetlights to allow LED lighting. With that, I move to pass Ordinance 2015-5, an ordinance amending certain sections of and certain appendices to the Bartlett subdivision and PUD ordinance, Title 11 of the Bartlett Municipal Code.
Second.
It's moved by Trustee Kammer, seconded by Trustee Ahrens. Is there any discussion? The only question that I have on this, and I tried to avoid all the legalese talk, does it in any way prohibit builders or developers saying, oh no, don't do a Bartlett because it's so restrictive as far as how that cash flows?
No, I don't believe so. The public improvement agreement is maybe more detailed, but we kind of shifted where some of the details are. So we had a simplified public improvement agreement before and had more details in our old form of letters of credit, but banks were resistant to that. They wanted a simplified letter of credit. And some of these other things I think you'll see in the surety bonds. Even sometimes when the details that are in the surety bond are not listed, the statute is incorporated by reference into these bonds. And there's recent cases out there that are the gist of why we're proposing to do this. I mean, a lot of the subdivisions have been dormant for a while. Now they're coming back, and we need this in place, I believe, before they get there. I don't think it's, any more restrictive.
Okay.
I mean, it may be it's all for the protection of the village, and I think you need a lot of this stuff as we're seeing some of, bankruptcies and some litigation that's out there. So maybe we're a little ahead of the curve on some of our forms. I think everyone's going to have to, you'll see a lot of municipalities.
It's not really shifting any risk from banks to village.
No, it's the other way around.
The other way around, more likely. Okay. That's all I had. Any other discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Ahrens?
Yes.
Camerer?
Yes?
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Ranky?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes. That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all we have for this evening under Planning and Zoning.
Very good. Thank you, Chairman Camerer. Next item on our agenda is Building Committee. Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's no report this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. Next item on our agenda this evening is under Finance and Golf Committee. Chairman Ranky.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one item on the Finance and Golf Committee this evening, the Civic Group Funding Guidelines Ordinance, which we have previously discussed at the committee level. I move to approve Ordinance 2015-6, an ordinance amending the Bartlett Municipal Code by the addition of Title 15, which establishes guidelines and requirements for providing public funds to civic organizations.
Second.
It's moved by Trustee Ranky, seconded by Trustee Martin to approve Ordinance 2015-06, an ordinance amending the Bartlett Municipal Code by the addition of Title 15. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Right now in our budget, we haven't approved it because it probably hasn't come up yet. Heritage Days, Trolley, Arts and Bartlett, any of that, right?
That's correct.
Okay, I think we should honestly give them more than 2.5 weeks. Well, what is it, 3 weeks? Say the first meeting in March, or April. Like March. I mean, it's a new form. They might need help. That's the only comment I have. Otherwise...
Okay.
Well, Brian, what's the effective date on this ordinance?
We had them having to be effective right away, but we had a different time frame where it was later in subsequent years, but trying to get it by February 15th this fiscal year, so you have that information as you're going through the budget process.
Okay.
And
Is this
then
something that we can
in
massage?
subsequent years, it'll be November 1st.
Okay. Is this something that we can massage, considering that we have the season almost upon us?
Yes.
You can. We'll leave it out of the budget. You'll have it before you approve the budget so you can put it back in.
Okay.
I'm in some organizations, and they might have, they have to schedule a meeting, and I mean, it's kind of like
Absolutely.
That's the only consideration I'm looking at.
I guess that brings up an interesting question too. Suppose some organization doesn't know that they need some funds, and they don't figure it out until June, but they need it for September. Are they just out of luck?
Yep.
I'm assuming that the staff is going to reach out to community organizations.
We have a letter prepared to send out the day after tomorrow, once the ordinance is signed, to all of the organizations who come to the board for funding, and so they will be aware of it.
So that makes sense, considering that the village knows exactly who we've been giving money to for years. And it's a relatively fixed number of organizations.
It is, and we certainly aren't going to beat the bushes looking for more.
Okay. And then the point is not to disenfranchise an organization, but to formalize the process.
That's right. Not only formalize the process, I think in terms of providing more information as we give out the public funds is critical.
Accountability.
Yes.
Okay.
Have we ever had a foreign not-for-profit corporation ask for money?
What kind?
foreign, non-for-profit organization?
No, Brian put that in.
I had that in there because sometimes it could be a bigger organization and they just happen to be, that foreign means just like it could be a Delaware corporation, a Delaware not-for-profit. And so you're just picking them up.
Okay.
Not every organization that's here is incorporated in Illinois, so it's not foreign as in another country. It's just foreign and potentially incorporated in a different state.
I'd just like to clarify those 2 points. So by adopting this ordinance, we are prohibited from making contribution to some non-for-profit after we've enacted our budget.
After what?
After we've adopted the budget. In other words, that example I gave, ABC non-for-profit comes to us in June and says, oh, this thing came up and we want to do this thing in September and we really need $3,000 from the village and that'll push us over the edge. Does this ordinance prohibit us from doing that? Or is there still something in there where we could say, well, this is a unique case? And I'm not saying that we should do that, because that becomes a slippery slope. I'm just trying to clarify that does this ordinance prohibit us from ever doing anything outside of the budget?
No, but I don't think you'd want to make that a habit. You are going to, it should be in the budget. I suppose you could have in the budget a little extra that isn't earmarked specifically to each organization. I'm not suggesting that, but that if that's what your concern was, you could have that. And, you know, the more you don't follow this, the less effective this becomes. So
I agree with you 100%.
The board could, you know, by appropriate vote, waive the requirement, but I'm not suggesting that you start there or we just perhaps wasted some time.
I understand that, and I'm not suggesting we do that.
I think
the thing that I want to clarify, and I think I did this, or I'm sure I did this at committee, but I want to do it for the benefit of some of the other people who are here and maybe didn't hear that, was that this does not impact those organizations that might be asking for in-kind services or something like that.
No.
The Lions Club or somebody else wants to do some of these other things where we provide police services. They don't have to come to us ahead of time and request some budget, or the Little League Parade, even though it technically costs money to close down traffic.
Right.
We're not requiring them to fill out these forms.
Absolutely not.
This is
where they
just want to clarify that.
Yeah, this is a cash deal, right?
Right.
That's all I have.
I guess I'm not a huge fan of this, because no matter how objective you try to make it's still it's still at some point somewhat subjective, and it just seems like another thing to keep track of. But I guess I'm on the lines of, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But that's just my 2 cents. I'm here nor there.
You ready to? I agree with you, Kevin, and I can't say strongly enough that I do object to saying this has to be in by February 15th, because there's a lot of our organizations who couldn't, as easy as this form is, and it is not difficult, that are many of our organizations would be hard-pressed to get this in if they aren't having a board meeting or, you know, something else, and treasurers shouldn't be sending things in like this without their board's approval. So I would ask that we, and although I know it would be fine for this year's budget, but I would say let's go ahead and send this out and tell them this is what we're going to be using, and maybe next year we tell them they have to have it in by February 15th.
Well, the way this is written, it would be November 1st.
Okay, November 1st.
Yeah, we're going to give them a lot of time in the future. It was just this first year we have a short time.
I mean, we could change that date this year, but it does start running into budget.
I don't think do we give away that much money?
I beg your pardon?
The total that we have in the budget from last year and what we have in the proposed remain the same, and that's $36,600.
Over how many organizations?
6.
Anybody else?
Yes. Personally, I don't think this is something that falls under our essential services, and I don't think this is something that the village should get involved in. I do agree we should continue to support the 4th of July and the Heritage Days, and that's about it. So if this is where we're going, I will be voting no on this tonight.
Well, I think there's a lot of issues that have been raised here that I kind of wish would have been addressed at the committee level so that we could have massaged this this ordinance. But given that there's been a number of issues raised, why don't we table this until perhaps the next board meeting? Brian, are you going to have enough time to massage it by that time?
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going with it, because I think the biggest issue that I heard was the short time frame this year.
Okay.
You know, and in tabling it just now cuts into that time further.
Okay.
So throw this out. I'm not suggesting you do it, but you could change that time frame this year from, February 15th to March 1st or March 15th. I don't know how that's going to work with your budget.
It'll be okay. It really is. We won't have plugged it in the budget, but we can get it to the board to review during the budget reviews and can add it into the budget later. That will work fine if you want to do it this year.
Can't you just bring it up in the next board meeting, pass it, say as a part of this document, it doesn't become effective until 2016?
Do it.
Yeah, that's an option
policy.
as well.
I mean,
I was going to suggest.
that way people aren't blindsided this year.
Consider that.
They go same as usual
And we
this year.
send out and they know it's coming.
All right, we'll make it effective next year. We'll bring it back next board meeting.
So is it tabled then?
Then I move to amend the ordinance section 4, the effective date, to reflect an effective date of January 1st, 2016.
Second.
Thank you.
Moved by Trustee Ranke, seconded by Trustee Martin, to shift the date of effectiveness on the ordinance 2015-7. 6. An ordinance amending the Bartlett Municipal Code to be effective January 1, 2016.
This is voting on the amendment only, correct?
Yeah.
But my only comment to that might be that we really intended to have it be due in November of the year so that they had plenty of time, we had plenty of time, and it won't be effective until January. So for next year, they're still on a little tight time frame.
What I might
Could you make it effective October 1st?
Up to 2015?
We can make it effective whenever.
Okay.
The horse is dead at this point.
Why don't we do this? May I suggest? I'll bring it back at the next meeting with a different effective date and a different first filing date. Take out what we had now about this year, and then the board can just vote on it clean. That's all right.
Thank you. I move to table this matter till the next village board meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Still need to take a vote.
Yeah, by Trustee Ranke, seconded by Trustee Martin, to table 2015-06 until the next board meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ahrens?
Yes.
CAMERER?
Yes.
Carbonaro?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Ranke?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all we have on finance and golf this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Ranke. Next on our agenda, we have license and ordinance. Chairman Carbonaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Carbonaro. Next, we have Police and Health. Chairman Shipman.
Sadly, Mr. Mayor, there is nothing to report tonight on police and health.
Thank you, Chairman Shipman. Next, under Public Works Committee, Chairman Ahrens.
Well, although Public Works is so very, very busy these days, and nice job on plowing and salting from your guys, by the way, sir. We have no agenda items.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Ahrens. Moving down to new business. At this point, does any member of the board have any new business for the good of the order?
Yeah.
You'll get a couple.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, right. Thank you,
H.
Shipman. With recent revelation, and it's become blatantly apparent, at least in my mind, that if our newly elected governor should press forward with medical cannabis dispensaries, that it appears that our village is ill-equipped to deal with the dispensary criteria, and I would like to address that and confine what a dispensary is in our town. It appears that We can have a dispensary come in and be a dispensary yoga center, a dispensary health club center, a dispensary medical center. That was not how I envisioned a dispensary being. I simply thought it was more of a prescription, a person with a legitimate illness that was serious enough to warrant a medical doctor giving a prescription for medical cannabis would come to the facility, present his prescription, and say, I need this because of my life-threatening illness. And they would walk out with it and go home and use it. Not that this would potentially put other people in jeopardy, which I think it would, under the potential criteria that's open at this point in time. I think that there's a safety issue here from the standpoint of we're going to extreme measures to put video cameras in and to have armed guards in. And I think that it's something that if someone should decide to go crazy and to come in with a gun and say, I want all your money and your cannabis, and there's already people there doing yoga or doing health
yoga
class
or nonviolent,
or whatever it may be, that it puts these people at a certain jeopardy that doesn't need to happen.
Maybe they're just having a group hug.
Well, it could be. And I think that that's something we need to address. We need to rein in and confine what we're going to be classifying as a dispensary within our town.
Unfortunately, under state law, we have very limited on how we can regulate this cannabis. You do have zoning approval, and we use the state law definitions for dispensaries. When they start combining uses, that may give you a basis to turn it down. But in terms of upfront drafting different ordinances to deal with that, I think there may be some limits on that. No one has yet proceeded past filing a petition beside the one that withdrew their, at least temporarily anyway, withdrew their petition this evening. It didn't have some of those other uses, but any other applicant would have to tell you, what's going on. You raise a good point in terms of what if they come in and it starts out as just a normal dispensary, and then it starts adding some of those other uses. We could look at that question, but trying to further refine dispensaries, I think we have limits because of the state law. We are, in many respects, preempted from regulating it. We have limited, our scope is limited to, where they could be allowed. And then recall that there's only so many dispensaries that are going to be approved within each state police district. You only had one in DuPage regarding the cultivation. There's others in other towns that have approved them, already approved the zoning, but then the state, when they issue them, they'll be limited. And I would have to believe that when the state's looking at that, some of those other uses aren't going to be in their favor in terms of getting granted a license by the state. But,
and it's that open by the state that it would come in and have these.
We can take a look, but
yeah, I would like to
caution that our hands are somewhat tied on that issue.
We can always say no. Though.
Yeah, the whole construction of that, the examples that I was looking at, looks like a 5 and dime store.
Right.
Well, it's got glass windows, and this isn't medical cannabis. This is just the one step closer to
It's a brownie shop.
Legalized.
Yeah.
It is a 5 and dime.
So I agree with you, Mr. Chairman Cameron.
We can look.
Yeah, let's look
let's
into
take
it.
a look at that and see if we can't narrow the definition to simply a dispensary.
Anything else?
Well, it's the same as video gaming. We decided to go ahead with that, and other communities said no. Can we just say no to this?
No.
We don't have any say.
You have some zoning control, but
Okay,
you
150
can't,
feet.
when you say just say no to it, you can't just say there won't be any dispensaries, I don't believe that you could just say there won't be any place eligible in the village.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can say
And
the
that's why
first
we
zoning.
limit it to the industrial park. And with the distances from the homes, there are very few areas where they could even apply
I would
and
say our
qualify.
first
And then
thing-
after that, if they don't meet, the zoning standards, you can turn that down as well.
I would say our first thing is we have to say it's within 200 feet of a police station.
Again,
That'd be our first zoning.
where they can have it, those limits and closeness to homes and schools, those are in the state statute. I don't know that and since you can't regulate it, you can't add new restrictions.
I think that because there is a certain amount of controversy to this, that we should let it go through our normal process.
Yeah, well.
And let the Plan Commission discuss it and run the public hearing. Our illustrious chairman is here this evening. And let it go through our normal process, and then we can decide, because none of us knows
If it comes back, we'll probably do it.
what the particulars are going to be. And I think it would be a shame not to discuss it with some facts behind it.
Well, and that's all well and good. I just think that we need to set the direction that we're going with this.
To what extent we can, is what you're suggesting.
Right. Well, within law. But here again, this is under federal law, this is illegal, right?
You're right.
And so the question is whether Governor Rauner will even proceed with this or not. And there's a likelihood maybe he won't. And maybe that's a hesitancy on some of these corporations or entities to move forward with this. But I certainly would be unhappy to see people put at risk that didn't have to be put at risk simply because they could come in. People go crazy. It's a drug, and people could potentially come into this place with a gun, and if there's other people there for some other reason, they could be put at harm's way that don't have to be put at harm's way.
Okay. We'll take a look.
Thank you.
Madam Stallings, who is our garbage person? Our garbage expert.
It's allied.
Yes.
Garbage expert, of course, is Scott.
Okay, then I have a question for Scott.
Let's talk trash.
Let's talk trash for a minute.
I'm all full of garbage, if you haven't
Trash
noticed.
I seem to recall at a not-too-distant village board meeting, there was some complaints, I believe it was actually from the Pleiss family, regarding the hours the garbage trucks were driving, and there was some indication, you came back, said that all of our garbage people had said, yes, we shall not pick up garbage before 7 a.m. Is that correct?
That is correct.
They're lying to us. Every Tuesday morning, I can go out at 6 or 6:15 and see the garbage trucks driving through the neighborhoods. I'd like a written response from our garbage man.
Absolutely.
That's it.
I-
And Comcast, I'm
I
coming.
couldn't hear what he said.
The garbage people are going before 7, like 6. I would second Trustee Shipman's statement with facts, because I've ran mine out there at 6:50 before, and then it's sitting out there when I get home at night.
They're gone.
And I've called them a few times. They'll come back and get it, but they're going early.
Well, I'm up at 6 o'clock, so it doesn't bother me, but I know one of the main complaints was the noise of it. At 6 o'clock in the morning, those trucks with not much else on the street, that really echoes around. So let's remind them of the agreement that we had, and I wonder what other parts of our agreement they're not paying attention to. So.
Okay.
I'd just like to know who got my garbage can. They picked up my garbage and I got someone else's can.
Was it better?
Yeah.
Don't complain.
It's the generic one, but it's got a black top and I had a blue top now. So it's.
Oh.
Is there any other really good business to talk about to go to the order? Hearing none, we'll move along to
riveting. I know.
questions.
And I think the term that you were looking for was garbage guru.
Guru,
yes. PG.
Yeah. That's Scott. No questions and answers. We will be adjourning to executive session to discuss collective negotiation matters pursuant to Section 2C2 of the Open Meetings Act.
Now or after committee?
Now. We don't have anything on committee. That was pulled.
Oh, okay.
Do you need a motion?
So do we need a motion to adjourn? Adjourn? I don't need a motion to adjourn into the executive session.